Okie dokie, so we have some people watching. Good morning, guys. You are live. Saskia, thank you very much for telling us.
But here we are, no? Vermut, Cinematic Vermut, week 2.
Absolutely.
Is the time that I wait for the whole week. Is the most eager.
I can't sleep on Saturday nights anymore, but it's for the wrong reasons. So, well, I was looking for Cinematic Glasgow now, trying to get there and share. But we need to talk about CinemaAttic very quick. CinemaAttic is the platform that is celebrating its 10th anniversary around 2020. Given the situation, the celebrations obviously are going to be online. And it's great because it gives us the chance to do many things. We missed you. We miss the physical contact. But I guess that is going to have to wait for a little while our science power develops something to kill all viruses, and we can go back and hug and kiss one each other.
And we came up with this strange solution, this initiative, no, Cinematic Cuarentena, that is really trying to be a patch, a thread. So we have a conversation throughout the week. We can see who's voting, who's commenting. So thank you, Val, Monica, all the people that have been commenting, Davide, everyone who's been commenting in the event. Keep it up, guys. What is Cinematic Cuarentena? As Rafa was saying, we were preparing the celebration for the 10th anniversary. We selected a selection of 90-ish short films that represent for us what is cinematic, how we change our view, how we changed from when we started, the short films that were important for us. We selected that 90 short film program, and we're going to be releasing 7 every Monday. Every Monday, we announce a new program of 7 short films, and it's live until Sunday for a week on our website, cinematic.com, and on the Facebook event. So you can see the films in the website, you can vote, and we encourage you to do that journey. Go to our website to watch the short films, go to the Facebook event once you're done to vote the films, and then let's gather on Sunday for a wee drink. That's mine, a wee vermouth.
That's mine, a wee rum on an empty stomach. I ran out of beer last night, so I have a chance to go.
And it's going to be a special one, no, Rafa?
Sorry?
Today.
Well, this wrong was hand delivery before the crisis started by Alberto, no one else. He brought it from the Canary Islands, from Lanzarote. I think he had to leave all his soaps and all these things that he likes, empty the bags and put a couple of bottles of rum. So that's it. This is the last of it. I finished it. Alberto, you have to go to Lanzarote again.
Mm-hmm. Again, yeah. We were saying Cinematic Cuarentena is this initiative we came up to keep a conversation with people, to keep people engaged with Spanish cinema, and we're very happily proud we announced it on Monday, and officially we'll start tomorrow. We are not alone in this, and we're glad that we're working in partnership with the Instituto Cervantes, with the Instituto Cervantes centers in London.
Hello, Rita. I know you're watching us. Thank you.
Manchester, Leeds, and Dublin. So it's great that this humble proposal that we put together is going to reach more people with the help of Instituto Cervantes. Thank you. Shall we get started with the films, Rafa?
Yes, let's go for it. So
what
we're
you
gonna
thought of the program this week? Because we were last week we were anticipating, like, watch out, this is strong. What you thought in general?
Well, it is very good cinema, no surprise. I mean, it's the selection of 10 years watching short films, Spanish short films, trying to choose the best is impossible, obviously, and we are nobody to say which one is best or not. We put the things we like the most. And the selection this month is just such a program. I mean, it's almost a pity to put it all together. you could make it.
At some point, we were almost regretting of saying, "Oh no, we should leave Canis for a different program. It's too much good stuff in one program."
Yes. No, normally when we program, we tend to obviously put the best, but the program needs to have a relief button, no, a relief moment, and then you put some others that are more humorous or are more lighter on the content. To then lift higher the strong ones, but this one, I don't know which one would be the weakest. There's no weakest.
Yeah.
So if we start with Matar a un niño, the child will die. We have the chance to speak with Jose Alenda and to watch this film with him and to have him introducing it. And it's a film that it comes back to CinemaAttic again and again, doesn't it? We show it in a number of occasions, back in the day, then last year when Jose was here, defending a bit the cinema made in Madrid. And I watched it twice this week already. It's such an ambitious film, such a really strong piece of filmmaking. Not surprised. The Alenda brothers obviously they have a huge tradition, the follow tradition, a family business almost. But what do you think? Tell us, Solita, let us put it online. What do you think?
The only reason why Jose and Cesar maybe are not live is because there are more short films. Maria was commenting more short films by the Alendas, and there's going to be more short films for definitely. When I think, Rafa, on that period when we were starting to acquire a taste and starting to program ourselves in CinemaAttic, there was that reference. Like the Alenda brothers was one of the strong, if you think in big names of Spanish short film history, you think on Eduardo Chapero-Jackson, in Los Alenda, in Ana Solanas and Mark Riba, and they're all in this program. So it's pretty strong. But if we were Americans, we could say something like, do you remember this experimental short film by Chris Marker, La Jetée, and then you have Chicho Ibáñez Serrador, ¿Quién puede matar a un niño, no? And you have this strange mix. It's almost like a theory of film. This short film is challenging what is film, moving image, and what is doing is stopping, using still images to tell the story and letting you fill those gaps between each still. And
plays a lot with the audience, know what the audience know, what the audience don't know, what the characters know, and the difference. Alberto, the theme of today is the time. So we don't go over time and we don't have our guests waiting. It's 14 minutes past 1 in Scotland. Shall we move to another Madrilean filmmaker, Javier Rebollo, and this amazing tear-dropper short film, Equipaje Abierto, Open Luggage.
How to start with Rebollo, wow, what a short film, I get back to it. I was in Lisbon a couple of years ago, and I was following the path from, what was the tram from Mauro Muniz to Cementerio Os Prazeres, going all the way up to find Cementerio Os Prazeres, which is outside of the city. My God, what a film.
What a film, what a acting, and what the story. The film, again, we watched it a few times already, and it doesn't feel like a short film. It doesn't feel, it feels like a feature. It really, the way the story is developed, the way the characters transform themselves, improve themselves, change, it's amazing. When I don't remember the name of the main character, Lola. When she goes to Lisbon, is a different person from that woman that is stealing things from in Seville, no, in the bus station.
Mm-hmm. It has so many things. It has, for me, it has the melancholic prostitute. There is a quote, I think, in the film that says something like, how sad is to fall in love with a prostitute, but it's even sadder to fall in love with a sailor. And it's bringing all these elements, you know, of this port culture in every port, and this melancholia, even more if it's in Lisbon, like a Portuguese saudade, no, this kind of melancholic spirit. But it's so beautiful, and in the formal aspect, if you see, is so great what he does with the, how you say, the off camera, el fuera de plano. And now everyone likes Wes Anderson and all that stuff, obviously, but there are other directors playing with this very, very, you know, almost like Roy Anderson as well does this, you know, this composition that is almost like a painting. There are some scenes in the bus station when they are in bed. When she arrives, the first scene in Lisbon, there is almost like a painting. You know, los puntos de mira, everything is like the composition of
the most of Lisbon as the whole story is so romantic. A sailor taping his voice and saving money to go to see his.
I mean, the whole premise, Rafa, the whole premise is so beautiful. Just the whole idea of when the tape is going on, and she just records all the sounds of Lisbon, and then Lola Dueñas chasing the sounds. For me, it's incredibly beautiful too. For her to arrive, to close the eyes, listen.
I mean, all these films we are showing, really, Alberto and I could stay the whole night, day and night, talking about them. But we have somebody waiting to get into the meeting. Alberto?
Who is it? Who is it? Are we expecting someone else?
I spoke with my mom this morning, so it's not her. Let's get her in.
Hola.
Hola. Isa. Hola, Isabel. ¿Estás en directo?
Hola, bien, ya. Sí, Hola.
Hola, ¿estás en directo ya?
Vale, ¿me escucháis? Bien, bien. ¿Y vosotros qué tal?
Muy bien, ¿se te oye bien? ¿Todo bien?
Vale, perfecto. Hola, Alberto. Hola, Rafa.
Hola, Isa.
Hola, Isa, qué verte.
Isabel Herguera, wow, we're so proud to have you here for the Vermut with us
today.
Thank
you so much.
How to say? I mean, Isabel was here a couple of years ago. For anyone who is into short films, Isabel is a key voice, a key vision in the last 10 years of Spanish short film history. Is one of our most international artists in a way, from Germany to LA. You've been doing commercial animation in LA, but you've been working with China, India, and now I think your life is split between Cologne in Germany, Tuscany, where you're calling us from today, China, India, San Sebastian. You're originally from Basque Country, but it's incredible. In this context of lockdown, how are you feeling not being able to go to all those places?
Yes, right now I was like checking the newspaper and seeing when are they going to lift the ban on flying, yeah? Because that's my main concern. I move so much all around that if I cannot imagine like to be longer than like, you know, a month in the same place. And I was just like trying to figure out, all right, they are saying that little by little, maybe by the 5th of May, we'll be able to go back to work. But nobody says, when are we going to be able to take a plane? When are we going to be able to sit among other people in the airport or just like roam around? So this is one of my main concerns. But at the same time, I'm very used to working online. So it's going to be a big effort on my side to continue the same activities, but just like figuring out like strategies and like, you know, effective ways of communicating online. But we, you know, this is the challenge. This is also the future. So maybe less flying around and more, you know, flying with my mind and like using this like wonderful technology that we have in our hands.
Mm-hmm. Well, technology certainly helps. It would be a lot more difficult if this had happened 20 years ago. But I guess the flying also the cinemas, theaters, even going back to work in the absence of something that can really check if you are infected or not, is very difficult. I guess we will have to wait until that device is invented or is available. But
Right.
we were talking about the films of this week. We talked about the Alenda brothers, Matar a un Niño. We were talking, and then we got to La Gallina Ciega. And I remember watching this when we had the privilege of having you around in Scotland. That fantastic masterclass you gave in the art college, in the College of Art. And it's been a while, no? It's been a while since La Gallina Ciega. It's from 2012.
No, Gallina Ciega is 2005. I finished, and I started it, I believe, 2002, before September 11th. Yes, and I remember that because I was at that time, I was living in Los Angeles, and I was considering at least like going back home and to make a film, because I needed some sort of a break. And then September 11 happened. And by that time I had like submit the project to the Ministry of Culture, and I had already like gotten the money. So I thought, okay, well, let's go back home. And this is also part of what the story about La Gallina Ciega is like, what happens when you go back home after like, I had been away from home for 17 years. And how you are a foreigner, or you are like, an outsider inside your own place, the place that you believe that was also always going to be home. And this is also based on, and it's inspired more than based on La Gallina Ciega, Blind Man's Bluff, which is a book by Max Aup, and that he tells about his experience on while going back to Spain after 40 years. He left Spain in 1939 after the Civil War, and he went to Mexico. And the first time he came back in 74, he came back with like 74, 75, I don't remember. He came back with like with all the high hopes of like, coming back to the country he had dreamed so much about, to the friends, to the people. And he realized that he was like, that actually nobody like did care or knew who he was, and that he felt, he felt completely blind in a landscape he believed and he had dreamed so much for like the time he was away. And so that like bittersweet experience is what I felt in my humbleness when I returned back home, and it's also what inspired the film.
How was, Isa, the map of, let's say, artistic animation, or you were doing commercial animation in LA? How was back then the map in Spain of artistic animation, experimental animation? Do you remember how was the reception of the film? Was it revolutionary in some ways?
I have to say that at that time, it's like, I finished the film in 2005, and there were like some people who little by little were like doing films. Begoña Vicario was doing experimental films. Let's say it more artistic or independent animation films. There was like Pablo Llorens, who was doing like puppet animation, but they were like, very isolated cases of like independent animation in Spain. But from 2003 till today, it grew up amazingly. And there's like so many people who are like doing independent animation, probably because also the media, working with video and then working with computers have like brought the technology so like so close to us. While when I was like starting to work on animation, I had to have a Bolex 16mm camera, and the infrastructure was much more expensive, but much more difficult to get access to. But it was like received okay. And I remember that my first film, animation film, which I did in '87, I had no idea that such a independent animation market existed. I had no idea about NSC, I had no idea about anything. So that I distributed my film, my first film, Spain Loves You, I distributed in video art festivals and things like that, alternative, like, video art, which at that time it was very separated from film festivals. It was like another way of approaching filmmaking in general.
Isa, look what I have here.
Ah, no, los crímenes ejemplares. Well, God. One of the character of Blind Man's Bluff, that like blind man, is actually inspiring one of the characters of Crímenes Ejemplares, which is a blind man who sells lottery. And there is like talks about like this character, which is going like up and down the stairs, and he decides to kill the lottery seller, the blind man, just because of that. And Crímenes Ejemplares is a wonderful book because you find all these like extreme characters, which just like, they don't need to justify violence. They just do it because of just like doing it. And
passion.
Yeah.
Isabel, yes, wonderful.
Isabel, we have somebody online, Maria Suarez. I think the composition and the use of lights and shapes in your film, Isabel.
Oh, wow.
Well, but somebody else is watching this one.
Well, actually, regarding the composition in Blind Man's Bluff, that I have to thank Eduardo Elosegui, he did the whole After Effects, the whole composition of the film. And then I realized that sometimes we draw too much, sometimes we develop too many backgrounds and too many elements which are absolutely not necessary for the story. That sometimes in order just to recreate the same space with two elements in the background, they're just enough. Because it's I think it's about reconstructing this building this universe which has to be credible, and in order to maintain consistent, it's just with two elements, it's enough. And this is something that I discovered while making Blind Man's Bluff.
Well, fantastic. So Alberto, you have so many questions you wanted to ask. I told you that we don't have any time.
I mean, what I want is to go to Tuscany with Isa and Janma and not being through a camera and speak for hours.
Right.
We should have gone before the lockdown and then
yes. Well, Alberto was about to come right before the lockdown.
Laura and I were planning to pop in or to do an Italian tour this summer, and I don't know if that's going to be possible anymore.
It will be possible, Alberto. I just was checking the news. It will be lifted by May 5th, they say. So summer is going to be there, yeah.
Isa, but you're in Tuscany, but you're in the middle of a process, a long process.
Yes. And this is this is the paradox that we are going through these strange days, and at the same time, this is a great opportunity for us to work intensively on the feature film that we are in development right now, not in development, in pre-production. This is great because I don't need to go back to school because Germany is also locked down, and I can teach online from over here. And we are really intensively working on a stage of the animation process, which is called the animatic. And the animatic is where you lay down on a timeline exactly all the poses and all the shots of the film. And we are working with plenty of people all around the world, because the film is going to be splitted in different techniques. And so that we are doing this phase of pre-production all online. And it's sometimes I see, we are going, big steps ahead. And some other times I feel frustrated because I cannot get my hands directly onto the drawings, and that is for me, which I'm used to as an independent animator doing shorts, is each and every frame that has to be under control. Yeah, animators are control freaks. And absolutely. And in this case, in a feature film, you cannot be a control freak. This is something I have to learn. And it's so painful sometimes that I cannot, decide 1 millimeter right or 1 millimeter left. So this is camera has to be here or there. You have to trust and trust the talent of other people and be a little bit more generous. And this is what I'm actually learning right now.
And when you meet
teacher, it's not I hope to learn that someday as well. It will make me a better man.
Do you remember when Bego Vicario and Isibene were here? They were obsessed with the 3 seconds per day rule. So this is a question. Obviously, we're now in a strange ecosystem where time and space has changed. I don't know, for an animator that has these rules of I need to do 3 seconds per day, or I need to do 7 minutes in order to reach my goal, my year goal, or my 2-year goal. How does it feel, these time constraints?
Yes, I mean, I thought I would be going much faster during this time of confinement, but actually not, because there is like scenes or poses or like parts of the whole like pre-production process that need much more time. And maybe in one day we can do like 15 seconds or even like 2 minutes of like, you know, laying down the layouts of the main shots. And there are some other days which I like spend like 2 days for a background, and a background which is for a shot that maybe is going to be there for 3 seconds. And then it's a matter of, again, this control freak element comes in. It's like one has to like be able to put it in perspective. Okay, a 10-second shots in which, you know, there is like camera movement that you can spend like relatively more time, but is it possible to like, I have spent like 2 full days working on a background that is going to be there for 3 seconds while action is going to go on in the front. But again, it's like trying to like make everything like, you know, the best. Each and every frame has to be like, you know, has to be like the best you can. And sometimes those like expectations, one need to be a little bit more humble and modest and say, well, if I'm not able to make it, you know, the best, this is going to look a little bit like, you know, not as good as I want it, but that's also okay. It's like an act of to love yourself a little bit also. And more in these times in which, you know, confinement with affects also emotionally, and to be working in something creative is great because it's a total release, it's total therapy. But at the same time, it's like sometimes you have to tell yourself, okay, be better to yourself. It's like, you know, this is not the end of the world.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Isabel, we are wondering what comes out this crisis. No, it's global. This affair of the humanity is locked down. Obviously, the economy seems to be priority. So that may change the point of view, but it seems difficult to think when cinemas will be allowed to open again and when the public will recover the confidence of going to a closed space, sit with hundreds of people you don't know, and to watch a film. What do you think? This is what is your guess about this?
Well, something when you were talking right now, something I think it's interesting is like maybe we have to start developing content, and image-wise also, things that we can see it on our screens. Because what is a real pity is to, like, for example, to see 2001 A Space Odyssey in a small screen. You're like missing half of the, you know, of the experience, and it's required for such an effort, for such a film, for such a dimension of like images. Maybe right now we need to also like think in terms of like designing things which are like right for our screens, and also like in terms of like rhythms and in terms of content and in terms of dialogue. Everything has to change. We cannot, at least for now, and we cannot just like, you know, think the way we were like thinking before in terms of like a big screen, and what does a big screen affects the way we tell the stories and the content of our stories also. I think, I don't know.
I enjoy so much in a cinema. I enjoy feeling the reactions of the people, and sometimes I'm similar to mine, or sometimes they're completely opposite, and then that creates a paradox in itself away from the film.
Right.
I really hope, I believe with time, this normality will be regained. I guess it's a matter of either finding a vaccination or finding a way to test yourself. So
yes, but at the same time, this is a great, wonderful opportunity to try alternative ways and alternative. We are forced to it. We are like, cornered, and this is the moment in which maybe the very young generation is going, which is like already like so used to dealing with like new technologies, which is like so used to dealing like communicating across screens, are the ones they are going to develop the strategies and the technology. But I think we have to use this time to fail, more than anything, to fail.
It seems to be difficult to be able to monetize or video on demand. I mean, cinema, however you look at it, it's an expensive form of art. It costs lots of money to make an animation film, it costs lots of money to make even a documentary.
Yes.
And to make the copies. Well, probably that cost is offset now with the digital. But the video on demand, I don't think they are still offering a good alternative to production companies to recover the investment they put. And I think that maybe there's the big question, how people get used to pay to watch, even if it's at home online.
Right.
It's a big question out there, no? Like, we're all enjoying the free content that we ourselves included are given. But is anyone doing that bigger question of how are these filmmakers supporting themselves? Should I be paying for a film? We will introduce in upcoming weeks short films that you have to pay 0.99 cents in filming or in some of them. And I'm hoping that people understand how people are throwing that question. It's great to have a lot of content available, but how are the filmmakers supposed to live or make their living, Isa?
Exactly. And if there is no rigor in the skill itself, and the rigor of skill is something that you have to pay for. You have to pay because it's education. It's like years of like working. It's like having great professionals, and this is something you cannot cut cost on that, because the skill that it takes so much time to learn is something that we also have to live on to the next generation, and this is expensive. And yeah, people should get used to paying, or I have no idea, guys.
There is always a notion of respect, I think, and
yes, exactly.
Measures that respect with the authors, with the
culture.
Right. For me, it's a notion of respect and how you apply it to the films, to your film experience, to the books, to your whole life.
Right.
But well, we could talk about this forever, but the problem is not new. I mean, if we go back to 100 years ago, we had the same issue, that the big studios were kind of producing films in a off treadmill, just because they own the distribution, the cinemas, and they could just force actors and actresses to work per week and stick as many films. And the response was, an important woman, I don't know if anyone remembers, but it's called Mary Pickford. And we, together with Chaplin and with Harold Lloyd and with her husband, Fairbank. They created United Artists. And it was a union mixed distribution company. They were making their own terms, and they were making sure the films were distributed in a different way. So the quality and the freedom of the creator was preserved. I wonder, Alberto, if CinemaAttic has to step up and create our own VOD channel where only quality is shown.
I don't know when we started to talk in industrial terms. We are radical and we talk only about aesthetics and the cultural side, no? When we became so worried about the industry, Rafa?
Yeah, because at the end it's like if you leave it in the hands of industry, they will like shape people's taste and desire for a particular type of film. So what would is going to happen with like films which, you know, don't fall in those terms, that films which are like outside those like particular rules? You know, one has to also preserve strange films, experimental films, independent films, films that nobody like wants to see, or nobody like, you know, there is an amount of a percentage of that production which needs to continue, because it's fundamental to go to the next step, or to like, you know, reach somewhere else or develop some other like type of content. And who's going to take care of that kind of production, which is like the minorities? Or, you know, how are we going to change people's perception and desire to see those films too?
The word we all think, I think we're thinking on is education. There is such a big word, no? Such a
Right.
The word I'm looking for is cinematic. We are so needed. I feel overwhelmed by the responsibility.
Right.
Sorry about this. 20-2 in Scotland, 20-3 in Italy and Spain. I will hate holding Isabel back from her lunch. I'm sure Jean-Marc, who I saw quickly.
Jean-Marco is here.
Where is he?
Gianmarco.
Hello, Jean-Marc. There is always a great man behind every great woman. Don't they say that?
Yeah, exactly. That's true. So
How are
a big
you?
hug for you. I'm fine. Thank you so much.
He was listening all the way through. Yeah, say.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Isabel and Jean-Marc, and thank you very much for coming to our
Thanks
first guest.
Thanks to you and the great work you're doing in CinemaAttic, and thanks that you're like doing such a great effort now to set up this whole like, you know, online presentation and talks in order to maintain that, you know, light alive. Yeah, and thank you so much, guys.
We'll try.
I love you.
And we love you. Te queremos, Isabel. Te queremos.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao, guapos. And Rafa, I just opened Estrella Galicia. It's a premonition of what's coming next.
Well, our sponsors are Estrella. I remove it. I have just moved flat, and this room is not prepared. So all I could do is this old painting that no one in my family wanted. It's covering some remains of. If it falls down.
What's coming next? Is something Galego?
Well, not quite yet. No, we have this short film, no, Morir cada día. Cada día, which is a great reflection on domestic life in Spain, on how different parts of a family unit grow in different ways, grow in different directions, and sometimes in an antagonistic direction. So they can't live together anymore. Really. I think it's another very strong cinema exercise. Aitor Echevarria managed to get the fear. I mean, the most problematic of the two daughters.
Fear. You said it. The fear.
It's fear. It's fear. I think it's on purpose. We don't get to know what happened, what's going on with the mother, but something is wrong with her, and eventually the more difficult daughters say it loud. There's something going on with mom. It's that tension that is provoking the fighting. She's not stopping, looking for trouble, looking to spoil the family lunch. And I think it's a beautiful line on how things develop and how eventually I would have loved a happy ending, but I guess it's the way it goes, and it's a fantastic film. What do you think?
It's almost like it feels one of those shots that feel like will expand, no? Like it's almost an exercise for a feature film, or even an exercise for acting. We have so many great actors in this program, from Alumbramiento to this one, and also in the more formal aspect of the films. Also Alumbramiento and Morir cada día. share also a sort of exercise of the light, no? An approach to light and darkness. That lamp on the top of the table, playing with the chiaroscuro, no? A bit with light and darkness. And what you said, the key is that fear, that silence, that problem not faced in the family, and it's so brilliantly used in the script, and the actors, everyone in that table is brilliant. Do you remember there's so many great films that happen around that table, and we did a couple of years ago a short film program that was called En la Mesa, no? Or Around the Table.
Around the table, fantastic, yes.
So many great films happen around the table. I don't know if it's a Spanish thing. I think it has a universal span, but in Spain particularly, no. So many things, and in a family, happen around the table.
It's a very important part. I don't know if it still is. I mean, it's just, we've been out of Spain for so long. I certainly the families and that have lunch, have dinner. Lunch, more important. Mm-hmm. After lunch, they remain at the table, have a drink or two or three, and talk, fight, love one each other. That's the way it's always been. Alberto, we have Alvaro waiting to get in. Shall I get him?
Yes. It's much better when it's not only you and me. Oh,
hey, I can see you.
Alvaro.
Hello. Hi, guys. ¿Cómo
estás?
Here's to you.
Here's to you too. Hey, I am the old one.
Proper Vermut with
the publicity.
Yes. Well, they're not chipping any money in, so
exactly. We definitely should.
We have Estrella Damm that have been supporting us for years, and we should drink Estrella Damm or Codorniu, Ana Codorniu, or something like that. Or if his absence, Cruzcampo, which is the only beer in Spain.
Welcome, Alvaro.
Thank you.
Alvaro Gago, if we were talking about Isabel, about one of the most relevant voices in Spanish short film history, in the past 10 years, we may be talking with one of the key voices for the present year and the 10 upcoming years. Alvaro has gone from Galicia to Chicago, if I'm not wrong, to London, where you studied film, to Cuba. I think you come from the great school of San Antonio de los Baños, so you went through it as well. And that is obvious when you see Matria, One Approach to Reality. Matria, I mean, you did Curican, you did short films before, and then you make Matria, something explodes. You get the Grand Jury Prize in Sundance, all over the place. There was a moment within 3 months that every award will go to Matria. At the end of 2018, early 2019, for good reasons. So far, I think the voting is closing tonight, but is the most voted film of this week, Alvaro. So people seem to like Matria.
Well, that's definitely. I mean, it's always been said, but the greatest of awards to feel so much love for the film from the audience. So that's amazing.
Where are you calling us from, Alvaro? Where are you?
Santiago. I've been here for a couple of years. I was, as you said, I was previously living in London, and then if you go back in time, Chicago in 2008. But I don't know. I was always finding excuses to come back home, and that excuse was most of the time making films. So in the end, it was clear that I had to do something about it. I couldn't constantly just be switching homes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I moved here. Been a couple of years. Really nice. Yeah.
And maybe it's like a bridging question, because we were talking about time with Isabel previously.
Right.
You are film editor before film director, or parallel to film and
I was an editor definitely first. Yeah.
And you sense that sense of time when you watch Matria, and I guess particularly for Matria, no, you sense that you've spent a lot of time with that character. and that you can feel that in the film, that there's a lot of time spent with the character. It's almost like a documentary feeling. So I don't know if to set the conversation first, if you could tell us a bit more about how you find this brilliant woman and how you start writing and developing the film.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's actually very nice that you mentioned time as an aspect that you focused on when you watch the film, because it's something that I have very much in mind when I'm writing and when I'm directing, even from the conception of the seed of the film. Compressing time and reducing the number of, I guess, reducing my input as a filmmaker is something that I tend to cherish. I found her, well, she was Ramona in the fiction, Francisca in reality. She was a woman who was part of the village that I was spending a lot of time into. My family was from there. I was doing different things there. I was just most of the time I was just spending there with my cousin just for fun. And then I did some photography projects there in the village, and I got to meet her through all these different interactions, and then she came and worked at my grandfather's house for 8 years. And when she was there, we developed a friendship over those years. And she was I mean, at the beginning I didn't know much of her background history, but I got to know that as we starting to intimate, and it was amazing how, despite everything that she was living, she was coming to my grandfather's house, and she was taking care of him the way that she was doing it. Basically, she was shaking him up and just just almost like blowing life inside of him, and so that was something that I witnessed for a long time, and it was beautiful to witness. And obviously that strengthened very much my admiration for her, and our relationship. And then I don't know, I just I again, like I was living in London, I wanted to come back to Galicia to spend some time, and why not make a film? It's a great way to be close to what you hold dear. It's a great way to spend time with the people that you want to spend time with, the people that you want to learn from. So obviously she was someone that I wanted to be close with, and I also wanted to be close to my grandfather, because he was living the last few years of his life. So yeah, I said, okay, let's I think there's something here. Let's try to make something together. And we started to writing, actually. I mean, well, we talked for a long time, and then we started to write pretty much together at first, and then I just put the puzzle, the final.
And she will say, no, those are not the right words. You will say in this region, or a woman here wouldn't act like that. Or what would be her input?
Maybe she wasn't as general as that, because I am from the region, so I know how they speak. And I mean, it's not that I come from a
Madrid
high class context. That they're not, I do come from the same context, maybe not exactly the same, but my friends, for instance, in the village, my group of friends, they all talk like her, obviously with certain differences, but pretty much the same. So I did know about that. But she did make a lot of calls, both during the writing on the script and then on set as well. Yeah, she did make a lot of calls, which was pretty surprising for a few of the crew members, that she, for instance, would I guess have a control over the filming of the time of the film, that she would sense the time of the film even before it was edited, and therefore would make calls like, you know, maybe we're lacking a bit of rhythm in this section of the shot, you know, things like that. But she did, and she was thriving in the context, I guess, in the little bubble that we created for her, and she was very creative in all fronts.
But so, I mean, when I think about Matria, I love the film, obviously, but I remember Alberto and I jumping on you in Clermont-Ferrand Festival, assaulting you almost.
No, you didn't know.
No,
It's great to meet you guys there.
It's the classic fun. Hello, are you Alvaro Gago?
yes. And the thing is, we kind of wanted to show it here immediately, and everything was okay. But then you got the Sundance the award, the public award, and from there, as Alberto said, it was a string of awards.
Yeah.
Did that make 16th of December an easier one to make? Or I remember even then, you were already thinking on what you wanted to do. You were thinking on your next film.
Isn't it in which way? Maybe financially. I mean, it allowed us to access funds a little bit more quickly, I guess. Having said that, we waited a bit for, because we knew we had the opportunity to make a short film with a big budget, which meant that we could pay everyone the right amount of money for their work. So we did wait until we gathered all of those funds. So it did open up those kind of doors. I mean, we ended up having around 70,000 euros, which for Spanish short film, I'm not entirely sure, but might be high. Maybe not for a French or for a short film made in the United States. I mean, you only have to go to Clermont-Ferrand. All the films there, which publish, the budgets are, especially coming from France and the States, they're super high, right? But maybe, I don't know, maybe in the Spanish context it was quite high. But so yeah, it helped us there. It felt very good, to be honest, to be able to dedicate more than half of the budget to pay for everything. So it was easy in that, I guess, in that sense, but it was as hard as anything in any other.
Yes, I can imagine.
Everything is just I don't know. Every time that I do have the feeling that every time that you tackle something new is exactly that. It's something entirely new. So it's a white paper again, and you question everything again. You'll doubt. I don't know. I doubt constantly what I do. I have I don't follow a route. Like Matria hasn't given me like a route to follow for the next projects. It's just completely, yeah.
This new film, the 16th of December, 16 de December, it started incredibly well. I mean, the critic put it very well. It was going the rounds, and then this I don't know, you heard about a virus that is going around, and we are advised not to go out of our houses, and cinemas are closed. How do you see that evolving? I mean, where is it going? This film in particular, 16th of December, an amazing short film by Alvaro Gago. Where is it going in the current situation?
You mean what is happening to it? Like what? It's completely at a halt. It's stopped. But I mean, you have to put things into perspective. So we did at least have 6 months of a festival run. There are films, I guess, I don't know any cases that are close to me, but there are short films that had just started, like maybe, I don't know. Oh, well, actually, yes, my cousin who premiered in Medina del Campo, he just, got his film into one festival, and then obviously the whole distribution thing stopped. We did have run. It obviously affects the film very much. But I don't know, to be honest, I didn't think about it. I'm not thinking about films that much.
You weren't caught by the virus. The film had enough time to do the rounds before the.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, like, yeah, we did have things we premiered in Locarno's like 6 months or 7 months or something. So we did go to Locarno, and we did go to Clermont and AFI and in LA. So
shorts, and the film has been all over the place.
Yeah, the film has done well, I think, and so obviously we had quite a few festivals lined up already, all of them canceled in March and April and in May. But you know, when I think about it, I put things into perspective and I say, well, we were quite. I mean, it's no big deal really in comparison, in comparison to other situations.
Yeah, and if we're talking about the COVID crisis, the crisis of distribution and exhibition, what's going to happen with the industry, maybe it's great, and it's a shout out, because if the Alvaro Gago director is brilliant, for me something remarkable that I've been telling other filmmakers as well. I've been telling them, I mean, if you're not friend with Alvaro in Facebook, go and try to be friend just to look at how he's distributing the film, because the film has been going to top festivals in the festival circuit, but it's been going to every single civic house, church hall, town hall in Galicia. It's been all over the place, and it's something amazing that I would like to see more personally. You know, all right, commercial distribution and activist distribution in your town halls, in every village, particularly when the film has such an important political message. No?
Yeah, it came. I mean, it's a very important side of the distribution for me. We've talked about it with Marvin and Wayne, the distribution company, many times. They are also very happy that I'm doing this side job. They're responsible, obviously, them for the good run of the films as well in the festival circuit. But they look at what I do with all kinds of high schools, associations, with a lot of interest. It all came fairly natural. It wasn't like I had a plan. It was actually a girl that worked on Hollywood film that suggested that I should go to the high school where she had studied in Negreira to present the film, and you know, it was word of mouth from that point onwards. You know, teachers at different high schools to start to show interest, and I would and then, you know, after a couple of 3 gigs, I really realized about the power of you know, trying to reach as many people as possible, and even if they were like little events. I mean, so we screened, like Matria has screened over, I don't know, more than in 100 different venues. Aside from the festival circuit, always with me maybe 90% of the occasions with me present, and with a long Q&A afterwards. You know, they were very interesting. Like, for instance, I presented the film in Aguinho in a school with in front of 5- and 6-year-old kids, and we had an 1.5-hour discussion afterwards, and that is also like food for my moral, you know, for my spirit. So I also do it for me. It's a give and take situation for me. It's, you know, you do a lot of kilometers in your car, but you also discover, you know,
yeah.
These people.
For me, it's absolutely, Alvaro, honestly, remarkable what you've done with Matria. And many filmmakers stop, you know, I've made the film, now we'll see where it goes. And it's absolutely brilliant and remarkable what you've done in terms of following the film and just showing. It's a story like that is showing so many, as you said, schools, high schools, and it might seem simple, something simple to do, but nobody's doing it. We had a case here with Daniel Blake with in the UK. There was kind of a similar hybrid between commercial distribution in cinemas and town halls, unions, and it's so hard. It's so hard to make a great film, a film that engages with the audience. But for me, and we here at CinemaAttic pay a lot of attention to the context as well, as you were saying. And it's so hard to, you know, once the film is done, to get to that network or that circle of distribution. And many people want to see the film probably, but yeah, it very, very rarely happens.
Yeah.
Right. It was all, I mean, it was all the willingness of the people who worked at all those high schools, institutions would reach out to me. I didn't do anything other than trying to put all my, you know, effort and energy in assisting and getting there and offering a Q&A afterwards. But it was all like their interest and their, by the way, they all pay a fee. It's not that I do this. So it also has become, you know, an income for me. Like, so, you know, they appreciate, you know, the work that we do, and they want to obviously finance. I mean, you know, retribute.
And you will assume that everyone is like that. We have a lot of conversation with Pablo and Giuseppe and Marvin about this, and so we feel weird because we pay a fee for every single film, and we thought that will be in some places is the rule, and is there. We were talking about respect with Isa before, but yeah, it seems like there are places where that respect doesn't work in the same way.
Absolutely, yeah. Which would be one of the things definitely to change moving forward. Yeah. I do think
Alvaro, unfortunately, well, Alvaro, there are a couple of comments here. Andres Rozados says, Alvaro Gago, thanks for stay and for to be. So are you becoming like a legend, like a subject of devotion in Galicia? People follows you and ask you for to heal them quick, something.
No. I need to heal myself first.
Yes, so you don't need to touch people, and then there's somebody else asking, what is Alvaro working on now?
It's something related to material.
Yeah, which is great. You know, I had my experience working in a city context, and I'm going back to the village. And I'm working on, I guess it shares the context and the socioeconomic context of the short film. Is a woman on the main the main protagonist's one as well, but is 10 years younger, more or less. So it shares some qualities with some characteristics, some traits of the Ramona character, but she's not exactly the same. And basically it's the story of a woman who is able to conquer her life swimming against the current. So with all, I guess, her context, all of the cultural heritage and what's established against her, she's able to overcome all of that and conquer her independence. So it's expanding on
material.
On material, yeah, definitely.
Is this whole crisis, because I think the project was part of the lab in ECAM, Madrid School of Cinematography. Is this affecting the timeline?
Yeah, and we don't know yet how much. I mean, it's still ongoing, La Incubadora. But we've transferred, you know, some sessions that we were going to do face-to-face have now been reshaped, and we are doing it over Skype or Zoom and this is what we know for now. I mean, there's a lot of question marks still. We don't know whether, because there's also like quite a few sessions that require for us to be there. It's a must. So I don't know whether, you know, whether they'll move further down the line if this state of alarm continues or not. I really hope it doesn't. It's been great so far, really. um, and so, you know, and also like at the state at which we have the film, the script and the dossier of the film. So this, you know, having this now, having the opportunity to work with all these great professionals at Incubadora is great for us right now at this point in time. So hopefully, but we don't know yet. So, but you know, yeah, I guess again, like if you put things into perspective, it's just, you know, something very small. I don't think about films, as I said, that much right now.
Yeah, and it's a good approach, Alvaro, really, because we think on how important it is to make your own film or even the film industry, and you feel that there are bigger problems.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, but Alvaro, Alberto, I'm sorry to be the one who is keeping an eye on the watch. We swear it was going to be an hour today. We are over.
We're over already. It just went so fast. It just
the time goes fast when you're having fun. Alvaro, it's great to have you here, and thank you very much for being so generous with your time.
And thanks for making your films and the feminist message, and we're looking for upcoming things from you, Alvaro. It really feels like an exciting director to be following.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for the work. Really, the work that you do. It's great to be a part of it. Really.
Thank you. Very welcome anytime. This is your house. Cheers, Alvaro.
Cheers.
Bye, Alvaro.
Yes.
Bye.
Well, Alberto, we need to finish this. It's not because we don't have time.
We were talking about time.
I ran out of RAM.
We were talking about time. Time is relative, no?
I don't have anything to drink. I'm sorry.
Go and find it, and let's finish talking about Alumbramiento and Canis, no?
Well, those are the two last films of the program this week. If you thought, and I heard some comments that this program was a bit stronger than last week. As you all know, every week there's a new program. Tonight, the old program will still be there. You can watch it in the future, but a new one will come out. Wouldn't it, Alberto?
Yes. But before we go to next week, let's talk a bit about Alumbramiento, Rafa. How was to rewatch Alumbramiento for you?
Alumbramiento is fantastic. It's a film that again, it has so well thought. It's so well executed. Manolo Solo drives there an absolute orchestra of emotions, and in one single person. It's amazing. It's obviously one of the best.
Do you realize, Rafa, that Manolo Solo was twice in the program, but you only see him once? You know, where was the other show film where Manolo Solo is and you don't realize?
I know what you're saying, but I've forgotten.
He's the narrator he's the voice over in Matar a un Niño. In Child Will Die.
Yes, I knew that. I couldn't remember, sorry. Also, he's a great actor. We all know that. He got best secondary actor, the Goya, for Una Tarde para la Ira. I don't remember the name in English. Was in English?
Don't recall. Tarde para la Ira. The Patience of a Lonely Man or something like that. I think it was.
And yes, it's a film that obviously touches very close to the fiber, because we all unfortunately have to see the people we love going. It's also very strong. It's just such an amazing, the reaction of her, I don't remember the name of the character, but also Spanner, when she just breaks the bullshit and said what's going to happen. I don't want to give any spoilers. I'll give the last minutes of life with a family. It's a beautiful experience. I don't know if it's based on personal experience. I hope
it is. I think it is somehow. It's funny because it's really great to watch it with Morir Cada Dia, we were talking about the chiaroscuro and the light and darkness of both films, but you can also feel the family dynamic and how one character breaks that silence, no? That kind of broken silence and noise and lack of communication between the family, and someone needs to break and be straight. And in this case, comes from the outside of the family, no, is the partner, and in Morir Cada Dia is the youngest daughter. But it's really great to see those parallels between the films.
And well, with that, we get to the last, not the least, film of the second week of Cuarentena shorts.
It's our favorite, Rafa, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I don't have favorites. I don't have the one I don't like. Canis obviously is a classic in CinemaAttic. It's been shown a few times. We got Mark Riba here. It's a beautiful piece of animation. It went all over the planet. This film
beautiful. It needs to be contextualized in this case.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful. It's not well. It is a beautiful piece of work. Very, very hard, obviously, to digest, as often happens to Ana Solanas and Mark Riba's work. But nevertheless, it's amazing that the two of them alone can come out with this.
And a team of people. It's a small team of people, but it's not only themselves. For me, the most brilliant aspect is visual, but it's tactile as well. Is obviously the textiles of those dogs, of those puppets, the noise, the dust. You know, you can really feel it. The horror. I mean, I feel
there is
like
a section, Alberto, there is a section that it really gets me. And if you don't mind, I like to put a clip of it. Just a 10-second clip.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna do it by going to my Chrome.
I'm gonna get my Herdo for the last bit of the. Hola, Rafa.
Yes, I'm here. I don't know if I'm sharing the screen or not.
I put my afro for the last bit.
No, Alberto, we talk about this, eh?
Okay, yeah, since, you know, we're now teaming up with Instituto Cervantes and we're supposed to be more formal, no?
No, they didn't hire some silly person. They hired us. So listen, this is not working.
It's not working. Should I try my tablet?
I don't know what's happening. Basically, it's thinking too much.
Well, don't worry. I've always felt like I've been living in this film. You know, like I watched this film once, and I've had a. Oh, there you go. Now you get in there. I can see Canis now. Are you gonna be too explicit, Rafa?
I just want to show this.
The black and white, everything, the photography of this film is brilliant.
The amount of emotions that go through those faces.
For me, it was also a key point with our audience. There was a moment, you know, it's a film that you will think people will find it disgusting, just uneasy to watch, and yet every time we show it, people leave saying that was brilliant, and is the second most voted film this week. So it keeps being impressive. I don't know, for me, it's just that mixture of horror, but original, handcrafted. Everything about this film is brilliant. And it's a special film for us because it changed somehow the relationship with our audience, when we were thinking that they just wanted audience pleasers and easy films. And then you go, like, we had a strong feedback of people saying, Canis was brilliant, we want more of this. And we never got back ever since. But it's such a brilliant film, and it's special for us as well, because if you remember back in 2016 or 15, we said enough of just showing films. Let's bring directors, let's even if there's no big backing or if we are too independent to do this, let's take the risk and bring a director. And that director was Marc Riba, the guy behind these puppets. And I don't think we will ever forget about that day in ECA where he was bringing a suitcase full of puppets and teaching the animation students how they do their animation, the photography, everything about the process. We should bring them back.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure to have him. We have our first whiskey in Scotland together. And it was a massive turnout in the Edinburgh College of Art, wasn't it? 180 people.
Yeah, below 200, yeah.
Watching him doing some kind of stop animation live in front of them.
The most moving part, Rafa, was when Marc told everyone in that room after showing Canis, we are normal people. Like, we are not psychopaths or assassins or anything like that. You know, me and my partner, we are normal people. And they do kids animation, stop motion puppet animation. But then the side that we love, obviously, is this one, is Cabal Smorts, is Cabaret Katne. They are not invited to this chat this week because we will have more films, and they will be somewhere in the future. They will be back. What a film, Canis!
Yes.
It's hard to have a favorite.
Marc Riba was the sweetest person to talk to. Really, you wouldn't believe he's behind these films. Anna, we need to talk to you. Alberto, what happens if you watch the CinemaAttic Cuarentena second week short films collection? What do you have to do then?
You have to vote. If you haven't voted yet, it's very important that you vote.
What happens when you don't go to vote?
We, like UK government, go with the police and we smash you, break your legs. So you don't want to do that. You want to watch the films and vote in the Facebook event. Otherwise, Rafa and I will go and find you.
Yeah, the Spanish Gypsy Mafia never fails, and they will follow you for a week on a flamenco party non-stop. And with that and a bit more, shall we make it as long as last week?
Yeah, Sunday is becoming a late lunch. So I need to work on the lunch now. But it's always a pleasure. It feels short. Really, we've been here for 90 minutes and it really feels short. I'm happy with the format. I'm not aiming to cut it, Rafa. Let's keep it. I really enjoyed the conversation today, and oh my God, having Isabel Herguera and Alvaro Gago in our Vermut.
I think it's great to have guests that we have already spoken with and inviting them and then coordinate this. But we should add like a third guest, which is just calling somebody willy-nilly, like really getting the phone and see who we can get.
I'm happy with that.
Next week.
Yeah, but what's coming up next week? Because if this week was strong, next week is eclectic. No, I think we have robots, we have zombies. Is the eclectic side of CinemaAttic, roller coasting, completely roller coasting. But brilliant, because we have, I think, one of the first Spanish short films that was nominated to the Oscars. The first, I think, short film that won an award in Sundance before Matria. Chema Garcia Ibarra and other filmmakers won awards and picked awards in Sundance. And we're going to have big names again next week. So if you thought this week was strong, watch out for next week.
Yes. And I think we touched the four corners of Spanish geography. There's really maybe more the north than the south.
Yeah, no.
We'll talk about this.
Next week we got films in Catalan, in Basque. We have musicals. Yeah. We're gonna have a musical.
You're talking about the what I mean. I think you're talking about. Well, it's a musical. It's a musical, isn't it?
It's a horror musical. But it's gonna keep, that song is been proven very catchy and it will stick with you the whole week. But shall we keep it there? Thanks for watching, everyone. it's really great to feel like we have a conversation, that people are going online, are commenting, are voting for the films, because that's what we miss from CinemaAttic, that communication with the audience, that conversation. More tomorrow, no, Rafa? Around 12 p.m., we will announce the new program. Please, everyone, when you see it, share it, invite your friends to the Facebook event. And so it reaches more and more people every week.
Well, 1,500 reach, 200 engagements, 29 comments. Not too bad for such a small setup. Thank you very much. As Alberto says, a pleasure to have you here. The weeks, we have to live with them, and the family paintings as well. We have to live with them. This is a family, it's CinemaAttic. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week again. Alberto?
Good to see you, Rafa.
You too, Mike.
Se me cuida.